Hi, this is Michelle with Michelle's Macarons, and today I'm going to talk about the top 10 mistakes when making macarons. So the first reason could be you just have a bad recipe. So if you're just using a random recipe you found online that doesn't have any reviews and you don't know if it's actually a good recipe, that could be why. Maybe you're not that bad at making macarons, you just have a horrible recipe. That is my favorite recipe. That's the one I use. And that's the one I teach everyone. So if you haven't already, go watch that video and it will take you step by step through the macaron making process. And it really breaks it down for you if you've never made them before. The second mistake you might be making when you're making macarons is not whipping the meringue enough. So I think a lot of people get scared when they're making meringue that it's going to act like when you make whipped cream, like you're gonna go from like perfectly whipped cream to curdled, like super quick. That's not the case. You have to still be careful, but usually when people are first starting out, they're so overly cautious that they underwhip it and their batter's like soupy. So you don't want to make that mistake. So if you haven't already, go watch this video and I show you what it's supposed to look like so you don't get scared when you're making it for the first time and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to over mix it and whip it too much. That has happened. I have seen that happen, but that's not as likely. The third mistake I see is over folding. So basically, a lot of the mistakes I see when people make macarons is that they're treating this process and recipe like they would any other recipe. You kind of have to come in with an open mind and forget everything you've learned about making other things. Most batter, when you're making things, you can just stir as much as you like. I really recommend counting when you first start because you want everything that can be measured and exact to be measured and exact because there's so many things that can go wrong. Like the humidity can be off or, you let them dry a little too long. Like anything you can measure and do exactly the same each time, do that when you first start. You don't have to do it every single time. I still do. I still count how many times I fold. But I am crazy, but you don't have to do that. But it's nice to have it at first. So if you do change something eventually, like change the oven temperature, you know that the folds are exactly the same. Everything else is exactly the same. So you're really only changing one thing at a time. Okay, I kind of just went off on a rant there, but then the third mistake is you're overfolding. So when you're making macarons, you need to like slowly fold, turn the bowl, fold more. There is a video here that talks about that, and I show you what the consistency is supposed to look like. But you really have to stop after so many folds and then pay attention to what it looks like. You're not just stirring it like you would a brownie batter. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it to be notified whenever I come out with a new video. The fourth mistake you might be making when you're making macarons is the first time is too much food coloring or flavoring in the batter. So when I am showing someone how to make macarons and it's their first time, I say no food coloring, no flavors, nothing in the batter. You want to make sure you've got the macarons down, then you can start getting fancy. And even then, I don't usually like putting flavor, like liquid flavor in the batter. You want to keep as much stuff out of the batter as you can. Keep the batter simple for the shells, I mean. The fifth mistake I see when making macarons is piping incorrectly. I see a lot of people overcomplicating how they pipe. Watch this video. We've got videos for everything, okay? Watch this video and it'll show you how to pipe. It's not as hard as you think it is. Like a lot of people are pressing the batter in the piping bag and doing this little swirl thing. They're trying to make the circle. Like draw it with the piping bag when all you need to do is hold the piping bag and squeeze it and it will turn into its own circle. Most of us are overcomplicating it, but go watch that video and that will show you how it's easier than you think. The sixth mistake I see when making macarons is not letting them cool after you take them out of the oven. These are not like chocolate chip cookies. You cannot have a warm macaron right out of the oven. You need to let them cool completely or else the bottom will come off. And I like to make sure that they all stay on until they're cool completely because there is still some cooking going on as they're sitting on the tray cooling. And I want them all to be consistent all the time. I don't want to take some off after 5 minutes and others off after an hour, because then they're not going to have the same consistency. So make sure you're letting them cool completely before removing them, or you're going to think there's so many problems. Like, I hear some people say that the bottoms of their macarons are sticking to the pan. That could just be because you removed them before they were cool. The 7th mistake I see when making macarons is under baking. I mean, I do see over baking as well, but that's a little easier to tell because they're brown, they're crunchy. But the under baking, a lot of people see that and think they have hollow macarons, which really, they're just under baking it usually. So like, if your macaron is, the shell looks good, the outside, but then the inside when you break it open kind of looks like moist and dense. It hasn't risen, but it's not like completely cooked, then has a gap. It's more like it still looks a little wet, like it's doughy and not done. That usually means underbaking. I would definitely try putting it in maybe 30 more seconds, 1 more minute, and see if that helps with your hollows. The 8th mistake I see when making macarons is not letting them mature. So in this video, I talk about maturing and how to get rid of hollow macarons, and I show you what one looks like right out of the oven after it's cooled, and then another one after it's been matured. So if you haven't heard already, maturing is when you take the shells, you bake them, let them cool completely, and then fill them with whatever you're filling, butter, cream, ganache, and then sandwich them together, put them in an airtight container in the fridge, and let them mature. Just sit there and chill. I say at least overnight, but if you can do 24 hours, that's even better. I see people make macarons, put the filling in, and within an hour after baking or whatever, they're eating them and they're like, these suck. They're crunchy and they're just not good. So make sure you're letting them mature. 8 hours at least if you can, 24 hours would be better. Okay, the 9th mistake I see when making macarons is changing too many things at once. So let's say you go and you make macarons and then you're like, okay, these were crap. What do I need to do? And you go watch one of these troubleshooting videos. And then you go and you make another batch and you're like, okay, she said you need to whip the meringue more, fold less, and turn the heat up. Say you do all of those and they still aren't good. How are you going to know which one of those things didn't work or which worked if they do turn out good? I like to change one thing at a time. And if you're just starting, you don't want to do the full batch and keep wasting them, but don't waste them. Fill them and eat them anyway. They're delicious, even if they are a little hollow or cracked or whatever. You can make like 1/4 of the recipe, 1/2 of the recipe, and just kind of experiment. 10th mistake I see when making macarons is no oven thermometer. People just trust their oven. They have too much trust in their oven, even if it's a new oven. It is like $3, and every oven I have ever had has been off, like by a lot. And even like newer ovens, old ovens, they're all off. So just get an oven thermometer so you know what the temperature is and then adjust it. I just know when I bake in my oven, I have to make it 5 degrees hotter. Okay, so the 11th is not using a scale. There's a bonus one. You have to weigh your ingredients. I know that some people have made macarons and have not weighed their ingredients and they've made them and they've been fine, but why risk it? Just everything that you can make like repeatable the exact same way every time, do it. All the way down to counting how many times you fold, timing how long you have the meringue whipping at each setting, measuring your ingredients exactly with a scale. Just every variable you can control it. If you have questions, if you think you're still making mistakes, they're not turning out, go join the Facebook group. Give us some time. There's a lot of people requesting in right now, but we're trying to get them in as fast as we can. Answer the membership questions. That will bump you up to the top, and put your pictures in there, questions, anything. There's a lot of people in there that will help you make better macarons. If you'd like, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll put those links in the description. And if you want to start selling your macarons or any other baked goods, join the email list below. I have a program called the Home Bakery Blueprint where you will work with me to start and grow your home bakery business. Check out these other macaron videos. Okay, love you. Bye.